All right, today we're going to talk about congruent chords and arcs. And congruent means equal to, if you remember from a previous class. This is the symbol for congruent, so I went ahead and put that on here. If you need to pause the video for a moment to fill in the blanks, please do so, and then when you're ready, push play. All right, so two chords are congruent if and only if their corresponding arcs are congruent. All right, so we use this double arrow here to mean if and only if. So when you see that double arrow, that's the same thing. That's just the symbol for if and only if. All right, so two chords are congruent if their corresponding arcs are congruent. So let's look at an example here. AB equals CD. All right, so these are two chords, AB and CD. If and only if the measure of arc AB, so here's the arc AB, equals the measure of arc CD. All right, so that's what the line above it says. All right, they are equal distance from the center. Okay, AB equals CD. If and only if EF, okay, let's change colors here. If EF is equal to EG, I lost my place, sorry. All right, so they are equal distance from the center if AB equals CD, if and only if EF equals EG. All right, so we can put little marks here that say, you may see these, meaning those two segments are congruent. All right, the next part says, if a diameter or radius is perpendicular to a chord, all right, so EI and EF, those are radius. So if a diameter or radius is perpendicular, and we can see this symbol here that means 90 degrees, to a chord, then it bisects. Bisects means cuts it in half, two equal parts, the chord and its arc. So if a diameter or radius is perpendicular to a chord, then it bisects the chord and its arc. So it bisects the chord into two equal parts and it bisects the arc into two equal parts. So we can also say that because this 90-degree symbol is here, those are perpendicular, these two parts are congruent. Let's mark them with a different line here. And the arcs also have to be congruent. And that would apply to this arc over here as well because the radius is also perpendicular. All right, these are facts that you need to be aware of and that we will use now to solve some equations. So keep this close so that you can reference to these statements. All right, for number 1, it says find x. All right, so if we look at number 1, it shows that we have two chords, and those chords have the symbol there that shows that these are congruent. So when it has the little tick marks here, it means that these are congruent or equal. So we can say that 7x plus 24 equals 115. We can do that because when the arcs are congruent, that means when the chords are congruent, the arcs are also congruent. All right, so if we subtract 24 from both sides, 115 minus 24 is 91. And then divide by 7. So all we're doing is solving for x. X would be 13. All right, so if you plug 13 in here, 13 times 7 plus 24 should equal 115, and it does. So you can plug it in and check it. All right, over here it shows that the arcs are congruent, which means the chords are also congruent. So 18x minus 2 equals 52. Add 2 to both sides. and divide by 18. 54 divided by 18 is 3. Again, you can plug that in and check it to make sure it works. All right, moving right along, this one says find x, y. Okay, so we're looking for this chord. We know that the chord is the same as the arc, so we are going to look at these two being congruent and set them equal. So 9x minus 34 equals 4x plus 1. Subtract 4x. See. All right, so x equals 7. So this time it doesn't tell us to find x equals 7. It says find xy, and we know that xy equals 4x plus 1. So we're going to do 4 times 7 plus 1. So xy equals 29. So this is our actual answer. So be careful. You have to find x, but you're going to use x to find xy. All right, this time it says find the measure of RS. So we're going to find the measure of arc RS. And we know that these two chords are congruent. So again, we're going to set these equal. So 11x minus 72 equals 5x plus 6. $72 and 6 is 78. And then if we divide these by 6, x equals 13. All right, again, we found x, but we're looking for the measure of RS. So RS is going to be 11 times 13 minus 72. And that is equal to 71 degrees. All right, for number 5, this one looks a little different, but we do have two chords and those are congruent, which means this arc and this arc are also congruent. So you know that this is 6x minus 20 as well. All right, and we also know from previous videos that the whole circle has to equal 360 degrees. So we're going to have to use that this time in order to solve this. So we've got 6 and 6, so we've got 12x. Minus 20 and minus 20 is minus 40 plus 76. And we know that equals 360 degrees. So now we just solve. So 12x, negative 40 plus 76 is plus 36. Let's subtract 36. 360 minus 36 is going to be 324. And when you divide by 12, x equals 27. So this time it just says find x. So x is 27. If you want to check it to see if you did it correctly, plug in 27 times 6 minus 20 times 2 and plus 76, and that would equal 360 degrees. All right, I'm going to move this down just because this stuff keeps popping up on the screen. All right, for number 6, it says if MP is right here, equals this, and PN is right here, and it equals this, find MP. All right, so since these are 90s, that means those are perpendicular. Because the arcs are congruent, the chords are also congruent. So we can say 5x minus 34 equals 2x minus 4. And then we're going to solve. So subtract. All right, so x equals 10, but remember we're looking for LP. The most common mistake students make in this assignment is not answering the actual question. Too many times students stop when they get x equals 10 and they don't read the question again to make sure they've completely answered the question. So LP equals 5x minus 34. So 5 times 10 minus 34, 50 minus 34, and your answer is 16. So LP equals 16. So if you have an assignment and it asks you what the answer is, this one is the one you have to plug in to get it correct. You have done it correct if you got x equals 10, but you haven't finished the question. So again, make sure you always go back and read the question to make sure you've completely answered what it's asking for.